Hey there YouTube, welcome back to Artichoke Dip, solo RPG gamer and gamer. So we're going to talk, first of all, this is a pretty important video here. Reason why it's so important is because I'm actually recording this on a real camera. I used to use this and it served me pretty well, and all my videos I made before were made on this, but I've noticed I've had a couple of videos recently that I have uploaded, and I always watch through the video first before I upload it to make sure it's decent. And replaying it on this device, everything seems normal. Then after it's uploaded and it goes onto YouTube, I notice the video's kind of like on, the orientation is incorrect. So I've checked settings and everything, and I think it's this right here. So out with the old and with the new. And you guys as my subscribers, I think you deserve a better quality video anyways, so I'm pretty happy with that. So the other good thing is it's September up here in Michigan, and today we have a really true Michigan fall day. It's dark, gloomy, we're getting this misty rain, the nights are getting longer and chillier, which means fall is upon us. And what comes in fall? My favorite holiday, Halloween. So, with that being said, I thought it would be a good time to talk about this game. I'm going to explain to you how I do it solo and talk about it a little bit. Now, the game's been out for a while. Some of you may have it. Some of you may have thought about picking it up, didn't know what it was about. Other of you guys, you know, maybe it'll give you a different perspective in how to play it. We'll see. Let's get into the video. So the game I'm going to talk about is this one right here, Betrayal at the House on the Hill. So, Betrayal at the House on the Hill is a strategy type of game to where there are 6 possible, I say possible because you can choose from 1 to 6. If you do this solo, I always use 3. I recommend 3, but you can use anywhere, we'll say from 3 to 6 explorers. So the object of the game is that your explorers go through this abandoned house, and I guess for kicks or whatever, to look around, and the house is haunted. Now, as your explorers move through the house, there's these tiles that you take off the top of the stack and you actually build the map. What's nice about this is this game has a lot of replayability. A lot. Every map is different, and every time you play it, it's going to have a different outcome to it, which is very cool. The tiles also double because you also get miniatures to go with it as well. Is that you could use these to double if you're playing a Call of Cthulhu or any type of modern horror fantasy setting in an RPG, or even a modern setting. You could use this as a floor layout plan to play your RPG on. So that's another cool thing about the game that I like about it. But let's get back to the game. So how it starts out is your explorers enter in the main entrance hall, and as they enter in on this tile right here, which is now their movement. This is 3 spaces. Each one of these tiles counts as a space. 1, 2, 3. And I'll get into this in a little bit, explaining your explorers and their abilities or tributes, however you want to look at it. So your explorers start here at the front porch and venture in. Now, there are 2 tiles that are marked black on the back for a reason, unlike the rest of these where you can see this one is marked and it's telling you it's for the ground floor. The reason for that, this one is for your basement landing. This one, let me get it orientated right, is for your upper landing. Cool thing about this, so there's 3 levels that you explore inside of this house. So your character or your moves up to its maximum movement speed, and there are six, actually more than six. I have 6 different player options right here, and let me get the box here and we'll see exactly how many characters are really in here. I normally have like my 3 favorite characters that I like to use, and those would be Jenny Leclerc, Madame Zastra, and the Professor Longfellow. So there's a total of 6 of these hexagram cards, and they're doubled on both sides. So that gives you actually option of 12 different characters to choose from. Now as you look at the characters, they all give you a little brief story inside them to tell you what. I'm going to use this one right here. His name is Oxbellows. Oxbellows, his age is 23. He has a height of 6'4". He weighs 288 pounds. His hobbies are football, shiny objects. His birthday is October 18th. Now you may be sitting there going, what does the birthday have to do with? This is a very interesting part of the game. So after you pick out your characters, which one you're going to use for the game, you look at their birthdays. Now, the one with the birthday that has not come to pass yet in our calendar is the one that goes first. I found that pretty cool. Now in the game rules set, it says to go with the actual players. So whichever player at the table, their birthday has yet to come, that person goes first. Me personally, I go off the cards of the character. So anyways, your characters, they have 4 abilities. As you can see here, we have speed, you got might, you have sanity, and then you have knowledge. So if you, let me get that a little closer to the camera so you can see. If you notice, you have one of the numbers that is actually green, and green is their starting actual number that their actual starting ability number to where they start. Now your character with speed can move their movement up to the maximum amount of their starting ability, which would be 4 spaces. Now might, which is used for combat and other aspects of the game. Then you have sanity. Sanity, certain things in the game, certain things you will encounter, you have to roll, basically it's like a save roll, and if you don't succeed, you lose sanity. And then knowledge. Knowledge is your character's ability to be able to look and figure out how a contraption works, or how to unlock a certain door, maybe to get into certain areas. And believe it or not, it's very well balanced, and I'm going to explain to you why here in a minute. For those of you that have played this game or own it, you already know what I'm talking about. For those of you that don't, you'll see here in a minute. So, if you notice on the abilities, there's skulls at the very bottom. If any one of these abilities hit the skull, your character's dead. And out of the game. So, now you got the gist of the character. Let's go a little bit more into the tiles. You understand how the movement works and the speed. So you're giving a very, very large stack of tiles, and as your character comes to a doorway and they step through it, you draw another card revealing a different room, and you lay that down on the board. Now, some tiles have symbols on them. Those symbols correspond to cards. Now, let's get into the cards. So with the corresponding symbols on the cards, there's 3 different cards. You have omens, events, and of course, items. Okay, so an omen card, as you draw it, some of these cards will give you some bonuses, and for most part they're pretty decent, I have to admit. This one is a dog companion, so if your character was to draw this, they would gain 1 to their might and 1 to their sanity right now, and then they would have a dog as their companion. That could also... The dog can move to any explored room up to 6 paces away from you using doors and stairs, which is very cool, and then return. It can pick up, carry, and or drop 1 item before it returns, which is very cool because it can find items and bring it to you, which if your speed has been reduced, this can come in to help you out a lot. Now, with this card, when it's drawn, there's only 12 of them. After the card is drawn, and everybody on their turn has a possibility of getting a card. So let's say there's 3 of these now in play. You roll the dice. Now if you get a 4 or higher, at that point nothing happens and your explorers keep going on exploring this old abandoned house. If it's a 2, the haunt begins. And I'm going to talk about the haunt here in a little bit more. So the second card we're going to talk about are events. So what are events? The events are all different, and some of them can help you, but some of them, they're not really that good. Like this one. This one's called Lights Out. Your flashlight goes out. Don't worry, someone else has batteries. Keep this card. You can move only 1 space each turn until the end of your turn in the same room as another explorer. At the end of that turn, discard this card, then you can move normally again. If you have the candle or end your turn in the furnace room, discard this card. So you can see how it's kind of, these can be good or they can be bad. And you never know. And as you open up the map of this abandoned house and your explorers explore it and the symbol comes up, you just never know what you're going to get. So the last card in the game is called the item. The item, like this one that I drew off the top of the stack, is called a rabbit's foot. Not so lucky for the rabbit. Good point there. Once during your turn, you can re-roll 1 die, but you must keep that second roll. Now, I have had this card come up a couple of times, and I'll tell you what, it really does help, and it really is a cool card to have. So I covered the cards and how they work. Let's talk about the dice a little bit. So, the dice. Now, not to be confused with the normal 6-sided dice, because these dice are a little bit different. You have a blank side, or 0, a 1, and then a 2. That's all you get. 1 through 2. Now, depending on the ability, and you're going to roll, so if you have a might of 4, you only roll 4 of these. Now, if you roll exceptional, you'll get 8. If you roll horribly, you get nothing. So, it does add a lot into the game. The thing I like about the game is it has a lot of replayability, and it's an excellent game. Okay, so I explained to you about the map layout and how that works. Explained to you how the cards work. Talk briefly about the haunt. So let's talk a little bit more about the haunt. So, you have a tracker that comes with the game that goes from 1 to 12 that you keep track of your omen cards in play. So if we had 6, but we only rolled a 5, at that point the haunt begins. Now as the haunt begins, what the haunt is whichever one of your characters rolls. Because every time your character finds an omen card, they follow the directions on the omen card, and then they have to roll for a haunt. If they roll above the number of haunt cards already in play, or I'm sorry, omen cards already in play, the haunt does not begin. Everything is okay. They roll below it, that character at that point initiated the haunt. Now, with the haunt, there are 2 books. Now, if you're playing with a large group of people, you have the Traitor's Tomb, which the person who initiated the haunt would leave the room and read this book. And then you have the Survival. Now, the Secrets of Survival are for the players that did not initiate the haunt, and they read the same haunt that'll tell them what monster it is and explain to them how they can defeat it, or what they have to do, certain objectives, to be able to defeat it to win the game. Now, if you're wondering what is the haunt, in the haunt there's a multitude of different monsters, demons, spirits, everything you can think of you would find in really nasty haunted houses in here. And the best thing is, I really like, when you attack a monster, you don't kill the monster. You stun it, and the monster loses its next turn. So, it does come back, and it will eventually catch up with you again. But, moving into this book right here. So, your character initiated the haunt. At that point, you would go to this chart in the beginning of the book. What the chart does is it tells you what omen card that you have when you roll that initiated the haunt and in which room. You cross those 2 and it gives you a number. You turn to that haunt. I'm going to use this one, Haunt 25, as the voodoo. And of course, in here, this is a haunt from a voodoo doll. The voodoo doll descriptions: a wax doll, a china doll, a stone doll, a glass doll, and a rag doll. Voodoo doll effects. The hero takes 1 point of physical damage. Roll 4 dice. If the result is less than the turn number, the doll falls and shatters, killing the hero. A stone doll. The hero is slowly suffocating, and you must attempt a might roll. The glass doll. The hero takes 1 point of mental damage. The rag doll. The hero must attempt a knowledge roll. If the result is less than the turn number, the hero takes 2 points of physical damage. Blood, red, rose, death. Now, the players at that point would go to haunt number 25 in this book, The Secrets of Survival, to this corresponding voodoo. And then at that point, it would explain to them what you know about the bad guys. The traitor has hidden voodoo dolls throughout the house. Each one is linked to a hero. The dolls are in dangerous places. As the turn/damage track advances, the effects of these voodoo dolls will get worse. So as you can see, as you go through defeating them, conditions get worse, everything gets worse, more of a challenge. So this is very interesting. And this book alone right here could also be doubled if you're kind of looking for some interesting ideas for a quick little adventure. Maybe a quick little horror adventure or something to add into any of your RPG. Actually, flipping through here will kind of give you some pretty decent ideas that you can incorporate into those. I like that. So, now, how the game rules are written is that the person that's the traitor that initiated the haunt gets to take their turn with the character, and at that point they can attack the other characters on the board and control the monsters. So if you use it to the way that the rules are written, doing it solo, you're kind of outgunned every single time. So what I have changed is the traitor is still the traitor. And the cool thing about this game is every time you play it, even if you run 4 characters, you don't know who the traitor is going to be until the haunt is initiated. Which is very cool because before you get up to that point, it's all about exploring rooms, finding items, and gathering resources to be able to use when the haunt does happen. So, how I have changed it, for me, is when it comes to the traitor / monster's turn, I take 2 of the dice and I roll 1 for the traitor, 1 for the monster. The one with the higher roll takes the turn on their turn. So if it's the monster will advance towards the nearest player and attack. And if it's the traitor will do the same. Or if the traitor's wounded, something like that, at that point the traitor could retreat and try to heal themselves or use any other magical cards they may have in their inventory to help prolong their existence inside the haunted house. And that's the way that I do it. And I find that it makes it a little bit more balanced. Everything else, the rules out of there, I use straight out of the rule book and use them. And it's a very fun game. You know, matter of fact, this morning I was playing it. I played 3 games right back to back, one after another, and every time it was a different outcome, and it was very fun. It was very fun. Now, what I did to add a little bit more ambiance into it was I found some pretty cool horror film tracks that I streamed in the background and played while I played the game. Just kind of set the mood of it, and it was quite interesting. I really did enjoy it. So, let's talk the very last thing I want to cover, because I've explained to you how the exploration works, how the map, explained to you the symbols on the cards of the map and what they correspond to and what the cards are, explained to you about the dice, the haunt, explained to you in the haunt will tell you what kind of monsters you're going to encounter, and all the stats for the monsters are contained inside of them books to tell you. The last thing I want to talk about are your characters here. So this is how simple this game really is, and it's very easy to learn, has a high amount of replayability to it, and if you use it the way that I did, how I play solo, I think you'll find it's pretty well balanced and you'll get hours of enjoyment out of it. So, let's say Madame Zostra is the traitor and she's squaring off with Jenny Leclerc, right? So now she's gonna roll her might. So her might is 4. She's gonna roll 4 dice. So let me roll 4 dice and see what she gets. She gets 4. 2 blanks and 2 doubles. Now, Jenny Leclerc also has a might of 4. Let's see what she gets. I'm going to roll them 4 dice again. She gets a 3. So therefore, she did lose at that point, that battle. And she took 1 point. Now, as your characters take points, you assign to where you want your points to be taken off to go to. They don't have to go to the might. unless a card specifically says to take a point of sanity, knowledge, speed, or might. If you take damage and it doesn't specify that, at that point you allocate damage here wherever you want to put it, which is kind of cool. I do like that. Now, there are cards in the deck that help excel your knowledge and all your abilities and give you some great how do I put this, advancements that'll give you a well, a pretty good cutting edge on the game board, even solo. Now, the one thing about the game is when you attack, so if a traitor attacks one of the players, and at that point he does more than 2 points of damage to the player, he has an opportunity. He can either deliver that points of damage, or he can steal an item card out of the inventory of that player to be used. That can really hurt the player even also. Considering some of the item cards, as you use them, give you certain advantages. I'm going to use this one here as an example, the armor. If your character had the armor equipped, now of course this item cannot be stolen. I'm just going to say that I'm using this purely as an example just to get it across. But if they could, and they were able to steal the armor, when your character has the armor equipped, any damage you automatically subtract 1. It gives you 1 point of protection. So if they were able to steal that, they could take that armor, and then at that point, there goes your armor, there goes your protection. Now, all the cards in here, the thing I really like about this is, I'm going to use this as an example, the medical kit. The medical kit, you can gain up to 3 points of physical traits. So physical traits, you can allocate those anywhere you want, whether it be speed or might. You can gain up to 2 points of physical traits, which again, and of course it's numbering this 1 through 8 depending on how the dice fall. Or you can gain 1 point of a physical trait, 0 for 3, nothing happens. And that is pretty cool. And as you can see right here, it gives you the little table right there. Now, the cool thing about the cards is the cards can also be doubled if you want to use them in your solo RPG. If you wanted to do that, if you're playing a horror type of RPG system, you could do that. You could also reuse the event cards if you wanted to in this game system. Now, some of these event cards, there's one in here that's really my favorite that I wanted to read to you here, so you can get an idea, kind of a feel of what the game really is about. And let me find that card. Ah, here it is, Jonah's Turn. So here is an event. It's one of my more favorite ones. It really sets the tone for the game. I'm going to read Jonah's Turn to you now. 2 boys are playing with a wooden top. Would you like a turn, Jonah? One asks. No, says Jonah. I want all the turns. Jonah takes the top and hits the other boy in the face. The boy falls. Jonah keeps hitting him as they fade from view. That's very cool. And this game is loaded with a lot of these events in here. And let's read this one here just to give you an example how it sets the tone of the game. Creepy crawlers. 1,000 bugs spill out on your skin, under your clothes, and in your hair. You must attempt a sanity roll. If you roll a 0, you lose 2 sanity. If you roll a 1 through 4, you lose 1 sanity. If you get a 5 or more, you blink and then they're gone. You gain 1 sanity. So as you can see, it's very cool how this, I really like how this game is laid out, how it is played. There's a lot of cool things about it. Now there's also other features in the game, such as hidden passageways, hidden stairways, as you find those through the event cards. Another thing that about the game that's kind of malice about it is if your character is defeated. Now at this point you take a token out called item pile, and it's placed in that room where your character was. Now all the other characters on the board, including the trader, get the opportunity to come in, rummage through the pile, and take what was ever in your inventory for themselves. That's rather ghoulish, and that's why I love it. And I can't say much more about this game. It's a very cool game. You know, it's getting to that time of year to where the leaves are going to start changing, and we're going to start thinking about trick-or-treating for the kids. We're going to start thinking about horror movies, cool nights, warm apple cider and donuts. And if you're looking for something to keep you occupied through them dark, possibly spirit-filled nights, I suggest you try this game out. Betrayal at the House on the Hill. Alright folks, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button to get my latest videos. And of course, your comments are always welcome. I will try to get to all your comments as soon as I possibly can. I do get a lot, and trying to balance that with making the videos, learning this game systems and everything. So what I'm trying to say is, if I don't get back to you right away, please don't have any hard feelings. I'm just busy probably answering somebody else's question, looking into an answer to answer somebody else's question, learning a new game system to be able to explain to you guys how to play that solo, and many other things. So with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and game on.